What's up, everybody?
Yeah, we're back. I feel like it's been such a long break.
I know, yeah, our listeners are like, what are you talking about?
Yeah, we didn't miss a week, but it's been basically, I guess it's been 2 weeks since we recorded.
Yeah, because we got in those two, and then you were
I was out of town last
at
week.
travel ball tournament in Montana. Couldn't be on here.
Yeah. But yeah, got a in-studio guest.
A return of an awesome guest, William Lee.
It was 116 what he was on.
Okay, is that what it was?
I just happened to be on our YouTube thing today looking at some stuff. I was like, hey, and his video popped up.
What are we at right now? 145 or something?
We might be at 150 even. We're somewhere there. I can look it up real quick. But.
So it's been it had been over half a year ago since you've been on the show. So, man, thanks for joining us again.
I'm glad to be here. Thank y'all for having me back.
Absolutely. Let's see, what in-house return guests have we had? I know we've had like Brandon on a couple of times, but he was remote. You might be is he our only return guest in studio?
Lee's only done it once, right?
Yeah.
So.
Payne. Yeah, I think you're our only return in-house.
Y'all making me feel special.
I know, man.
You should.
I know. What are you drinking?
I am drinking Heaven Hill.
Yeah. What do you think? It's pretty good.
It's really good. It's smooth to be that high of a proof. You know?
Yep. Yeah. I'm telling you, man. I was really impressed with it. What you got?
So I've got something I've never heard of, but now that we have an official bourbon sponsor.
Yeah. DeSalvo?
Yeah, Mr. Tim is our official bourbon sponsor, apparently.
Yes.
We've been talking about getting a bourbon sponsor, if we could, but...
he's taking care of us. Yeah, we didn't have to.
He has. I'm drinking the Senator. I'm totally unfamiliar with it until he handed me a bottle the other night.
It looks very official. And the name, the Senator.
It's a rye. He gave us a couple of bottles, but we'll save the other one for... we won't spoil that for y'all.
The other one's got a really cool name. Yeah, I like the other one.
Maybe next week.
Yep.
What about you?
I've got just the good old Devil's Cut, Jim Beam.
Yeah. I got here late, so y'all had already poured by the time I got here with the gifts from our sponsor. So
that's right. I knew. I told Bobby Lee 8:30, so I was basically telling William, about 8:45 he'll be here.
It was like 8:35. Man, I was scrambling. My wife wasn't feeling good. And trying to school tomorrow. I was cleaning the kitchen, putting away leftovers. Kids were being unruly, and I was like, I gotta go.
Yep. Adios. Well, while we're talking about that, and while you're listening, go to agzaga.com and check out what they got. There's all kinds of good products. Getting geared up. I don't know if you're like me. I've ordered some parts for my header. Didn't order from Agzaga because I don't think they have any MacDon parts. But they might soon. But
I was about to say that they're expanding that product line all the time.
They have some stuff gear up for harvest. It'll be coming along soon, so get you some stuff on there for harvest time.
Yeah. I used some of the net wrap yesterday. Rolled a bunch of hay. Nearly ran out, which I had another one at the house. But
get you some new underwear. Since you're gonna be sitting in a combine all day, you want some comfortable underwear.
Yeah, you don't want to be getting a chafed.
That's right. That's right. Nothing worse.
But most important part, use the discount code. Everything's on sale, 10% off. Talk Dirt, all caps, all one word.
Yep, check that out. All right, man. So, we did a podcast the other day on the phone.
Yeah, we did.
Well, I thought it was funny. Logan said he wants to come on. I was like, man, just the man I need to see with the way the cattle market has been the last 2 weeks.
Man,
I want to see how that LRP is going to pay out.
The whole ag world is just crazy.
It's been, I talked to another buddy today, and like I think the realization is setting in on people that market probably ain't coming back, and trying to yield your way out of operating in the red that's a tough road to hoe. And I asked him, I was like, some people ain't gonna make it, are they? He said no. He said this is gonna be it for some folks.
Well,
I guess every year is, this year
tough.
Is going to be one of those where, the chaff gets separated from the wheat.
The stars have aligned.
Yeah.
And Logan and I were talking the other day, and I said, I travel around a lot in West Tennessee, some in Mississippi, some in Arkansas, Boot Hill, Missouri, around, and look, and there are some places, and it's really, wherever you are, there's some places that look really good.
Yeah.
Like they've got a good crop across the board. I went to a meeting yesterday in Martin. It was they called it a bankers finance meeting, whatever, and they had a guy that was Eric Snodgrass, did the nutrient meteorologist.
I'm a nerd. My kids.
I mean,
my kids get so annoyed whenever I watch this 30-minute ag forecast.
Yes, and I mean, but it is.
He was in Martin.
He was in Martin.
Damn.
He comes every year, and I didn't know y'all were the weather fans, so I'll have to give you an invite next year. I always take a couple of customers up there, and we go, and it's a really good program. And I'm not just touting it because UT Martin is our alumni base, but they have a retired professor from University of Virginia, and he comes and talks about business strategies, kind of what they see the economy is, and then we have Snodgrass that comes in and talks about weather, long-term, short-term, kind of where we are.
Yeah.
And then they have Richard Brock from the Brock Report come and give kind of where he thinks the state of the markets are. And then this year we had a new speaker that was I think from University of Missouri, I think. Anyway, he was a ag economist, used to work at the Fed, talked about interest rates.
Gotcha.
So it was pretty interesting. And I talked to Logan yesterday afternoon after I had been to some of this stuff, and it's just tough, you know.
Yeah.
And trying to, I told Logan, I said, I talked to a bunch of guys, see a bunch of things. I said, it's kind of some different, a lot of guys are just ignoring the problem. They know it's there, and it's kind of like we're waiting for the fall, waiting for the harvest. We know it's going to be a hit. We just don't know how big a hit we're going to take.
And that's kind of where I feel like I am.
Mm-hmm.
Like, honestly, like I know that it's bad. And so, but I've told several people, I'm just farming. I'm just doing what I got to do. I'm in a normal year, like this part's on my header I need to replace. I would replace these parts on my header. At the end of the day, I got to get the crops out. Got to do what I got to do, and so I'm just doing it.
You got to.
Doing it like normal.
You can't quit. I mean, you cannot lay down and quit.
Yep. And so and that's why, like when me and you talked, I was like, man, we were talking about it, and I said this would be a good episode. I feel like it's a state of agriculture, like kind of an update on where we are. And first of all, I guess we need to, for people that maybe you're new to the show, tell us who you are, so they kind of know your background a little bit.
Yeah, for those that didn't listen to 116, shame on you.
Yep.
So, my name is William Lee, and I live here in Tipton County, but I'm originally from Haywood County, which is basically one county over. I've been involved in ag my entire life, from my grandparents and my parents they didn't farm, but we came from a farm background and farm. I went to UT Martin and majored in ag business. Worked in the ag industry for, I don't know, 10, 15 years, and then kind of I don't say I got out of the ag industry. I stayed in the ag industry some, but I also taught high school ag for 12 years.
Yeah.
And I got out and I got back in the ag industry in that I sell crop insurance, risk management stuff, whether it's farm insurance, commercial ag insurance, and also crop insurance through a company, and it's the RMA, whatever you want to look at. So I'm not going to say I have a pulse on the ag industry. Also, during that time, I did go back to Martin and get my master's degree in ag. In ag.
Yeah. Yeah.
So I do have a little bit of a, I guess you would say, paper that says I'm supposed to know what I'm talking about.
Yeah. Well, and that's where, you have been through the ringer before.
Yeah.
You've been through the time when the prices were bad and the costs were high, and you've seen the bad.
Yeah.
And so that's where it's like, I've been in this is my 10th season having my own operation, and I've seen prices come and go. When, like, my main reference, I saw, what was it, 08 or some of that time frame when the prices hit bad, and I saw that, but I wasn't in it financially. I was just helping my dad and stuff like that. But now, in this 10-year span, we had really, the trade war was the first real bad prices I'd seen, and they were lower than they are now, but we did get some supplemental help from the MFP payments.
And our input prices weren't where they are now.
Yes. Oh, dude, I talked to a guy last week. Saw him last week. I was in Millington, and I went in Lenny's, and he farms a little on the side. Yeah. Me and him got to just chatting about the year, And he asked me about last year. He said, well, first we were like, dude, this year it looks awful. We're like, it looks terrible. Like, and both of us were like, I don't know what we're going to do. I mean, because like he's a younger guy as well. He's running he has a job that supplements his. Unfortunately, I don't. This is all I got. And so it's like we're like, shit, I don't know what we're going to do. I don't know how we're going to skate through this one because we're both leveraged to the maximum. And he said, what about last year? How'd you do last year? And I said, well, I had pretty good yields. And he said, well, I had good yields and I didn't make no money. And I said, well, I know the feeling. And I said, and you're not. I said, you're about the 12th farmer I've talked to that said the same thing.
So last year, end of November, first part of December, I started getting phone calls from customers, from different people like, hey, what are you hearing out there? I said, what do you mean, what am I hearing out there? I said, I had a good year. I had tremendous yields, but I didn't make any money.
Yeah.
I'm paying my bills, going, how we all do. It gets in the end, harvest is done, we got whatever we got to settle up, and they're like, I didn't make any money.
Yeah.
I spent way too much money, and I was like, yeah. Said it's pretty much that's the sentiment, and they were like, well, what are we going to do? And I said, well, we just got to tighten up, and, and my advice was at that time, say, hey, we got to tighten up. Look and see where you can cut corners, where you can squeeze an extra nickel here, dime there, whatever. But you can't cut what you're putting on your crop because the only hope we have is to out yield this price.
Yeah.
And I mean, at that time we were looking at like
$12
soybeans.
Yeah.
And I mean, it was tough. And then
it's $9.83 today. That's for October delivery.
And you gotta love that. I mean, it's so. As we progressed on through the year, and I would say sentiment was still pretty high because we were like, yeah, we just got to make a good crop. We're going to make a good crop. We can make it. We just make a good crop.
Yeah.
Well, as time has gone on, we're seeing in our area especially, not and there's other areas in the United States, I'm sure, and people, I'm sure that we'll get comments or whatever, y'all will or whatever, you get comments like, oh, we got a good crop up here. We got plenty of rain.
Yeah.
And there are places in West Tennessee that are like that.
Yeah.
But overall, we got an average at best crop.
Yeah.
And an average at best crop's not going to cut it when you're looking at 980 soybeans.
Yeah.
I looked this up after you and I talked the other day. I got back in the ag industry 10 years ago, and I do property and casualty insurance on equipment and stuff like that, so I know a lot of the values. And look, I wrote the insurance 10 years ago. I wrote the insurance. I think it was a 1-year-old combine. It was a 1-year-old case combine. Cost $250,000.
Brand new.
It was 1 year old.
Yeah,
But I mean,
yeah.
it had like
that's pretty much brand new.
This last year, I wrote the insurance board traded and got a 1-year-old machine, $560,000.
Yeah, that is crazy. In how many years?
In 10 years is the price. And when
More than
when we
doubled.
Yeah.
but when you say, oh, it's doubled, I mean, $250,000 is a lot of money.
Yes.
But when you double to $500,000,
That's a shit ton of money.
you're sitting there going, good God,
Your note a year is $90,000.
Yeah.
$100,000.
$100,000 a year.
How in the world do you? And I say it jokingly, but I'm only halfway joking. That it'll be so wore out by the time I can afford it. And I say that, but then I actually was talking to a guy. Now that I think about it, at our kids' back to school thing we went to.
Yeah.
And a guy who's another dude that farms, he came up and again, every farmer I talk to is like, it looks terrible. Like that's all they've said. And I'm right there with them. But he said, man, did you see, they apparently had a big combine auction here like a week ago.
Okay.
And it was over in Sykeston.
Okay.
So I know where the
Right.
big is over there. And he said, dude, did you see how cheap the combines went for? And I said, no. And I wrote it down because I was like, tell me that again. So this was pretty mind-blowing to me. And it's not like they're cheap, but it's actually not good.
No.
Like,
I mean, that means
A lot of people are upside down. And
yes. So a 2020 S790. So that's the big 790. You don't even see a lot of the 9. That's a class 9 John Deere. Only had 700 hours on it. So that's very low hours. It sold for $175,000 at that auction. That was
probably a $600,000 machine.
Yep. It's 175,000. I mean, realistically, a 2020 with 700 hours, that size machine, probably still should have brought 350.
400.
Yeah, like I mean that, and it sold for 175. He said there was a 2020 780 that had 900 hours, and it sold for 225, and that's still really cheap. Like, I mean, I got a 680. It was nearly 175,000, and that was like 4 years ago, and that's a 680, and it had 2,000 hours on it. Like,
Damn.
so
Yeah.
so that's that just shows the financial strength in farming right now is not
None.
good.
So they had and I didn't go, and there was a big farming operation in Tunica, Mississippi that went out, or that guy retired, went out, whatever, I don't know. I mean, I don't know the story to it.
Yeah.
But I mean, if you look, you know, a lot of our farm auctions are DeWitt auction out of Missouri.
Yep.
And they put the bill, I mean, and this guy had like,
That was who did the combines. Yeah.
okay, it was like 12-year-old, 1-year-old 8R tractors, 13 another 8R series, you know, 4, you know, brand 1-year-old cotton pickers, 4 1-year-old combines. And I mean, it was one of these probably humongous farms. They got the multi-unit discounts and they traded every year, whatever. Well, he went out.
Yeah.
So it was a 1-year-old cotton picker that had, I think, 400 hours on it. Not hurt at all. I mean, you know, that picker retailed last year for 1.1 million, sold for 675,000.
Yeah, that's, again, like if some people are listening, like, man, they got a hell of a deal, but it's like that's a bad sign.
That's a bad sign.
That's a bad sign
because what we're looking at is the equity that you have in your machine is not what you thought you had.
Yes.
You know, if 2 years ago, and we struggle with this because I also do property and casualty insurance, and one of the things that the used equipment market went berserk because, I mean, if you look back, a new John Deere tractor is $500,000, $600,000.
Yeah.
So, I mean, and I'm not any way judging or knocking, but a farm your size, you cannot afford a tractor that day.
No.
Ever. Unless, I mean, you know, unless somebody gave you half a lottery, you won the lottery and said, I just want to have it.
Yeah, I just
say
want to
I
blow
got it.
some money.
Right.
Yeah.
But, I mean, you cannot afford a tractor like that. So, and it's the other thing. So, the horsepower, as it gets older, as it does things, those used tractors that should be worth 100,000 were now worth 150, 200,000, bringing 150 because hey, a new one's 500. You know, so the used equipment value went way up, and we've actually struggled with this because one of the ways that we do, you have what's called scheduled equipment. I come in there and I list all your equipment. We put a dollar value on that equipment, and you know that's how we know how to insure that. Well, we were insuring equipment like you go buy had a guy buy a tractor 2 or 3 years ago, and he paid $150,000 for it. Unfortunately, 2 years ago, it burned up. He had in a wheat field, but you know, it caught on fire, and the tractor burned up. Well, it was insured for $150,000. The tractor was worth $185,000.
Yeah.
And the adjuster comes in there and looking at it and says, "Hey, man, this tractor, you know, you got it insured for $150,000, but it's worth $185,000. But we're only going to pay you $150,000 because that's what you had it insured for."
Yeah.
And it was, you know, and we were struggling to keep up every year. You know, instead of equipment depreciating, it was actually appreciating.
Oh, yeah.
And but now we're looking at it, and unfortunately on your balance sheet, you got a tractor that you bought 2 years ago for $175,000 that may be worth $125,000 now.
Yeah.
Or $100,000.
Oh, that's what I saw that my 8420. I got a 04 8420. That's what I've been running. I bought that tractor, again, I'm very open with everything. I bought that tractor for $70,000 like 4 years ago, 4 or 5 years ago. I can't remember now for sure, but it's been several years ago. Bought it at auction, and that was a little higher than I really wanted to spend at the time. I bought it. It had like 4,500 hours on it, which is low hours for a 2004.
Right.
And that tractor last year was selling for about $100,000. So it had gained about 30,000, and some of those selling for 100. Some of them had 8,000 or 9,000 hours on it.
Oh, right.
Yeah, mine had half the hours. And so I was like, man, but yet now, just because everybody is like gun shy and they're wondering what the hell's going to happen, like markets, I mean, that tractor, I would still say it may still slightly be above what I paid for it, but it's down, like I would say realistically maybe down to 80. Like I'm almost back down to what I paid for it, I bet.
Well, some of that older stuff, I mean, and I say older stuff, but it's 20-year-old tractor.
Yeah.
You know, now it's going to hold its value better, I feel like, because the other stuff is so daggum high.
Yeah.
You know, and I mean, it's going to be interesting to see because typically, you know, agriculture economy is a countercyclical economy. You know, we're up, we're down, we're doing, and because every farmer out there is leveraged in some way. I mean,
Yeah.
I'm sure there are some out there that says, hey, everything I got's paid for. That's their anomaly.
Yeah.
But most of the people have had, so typically what they do is we go in here and we look and say, I got to make this tractor payment, I got to do this, whatever. So I'm just going to trade. I'm going to trade out of the payment. I'm going to go trade, get me something else, whatever, and then I'll just push the payment out
Yeah.
another year. It's, you know, whatever the payment may, if it's $100,000, whatever, I can push that $100,000 out.
Yep.
Well, you know, and the other thing is, I know y'all have seen, and I've heard y'all report on it, John Deere, Kinsey reported this week that they were laying off like 175, I think it was, 180 of, you know, and they said, well, that's a lot lower than John Deere. They only have 800 employees.
Yeah. Yeah. That's
So, you know, that's
a lot smaller company.
and it's, you know, AGCO, they didn't announce any layoffs, but they said it's coming.
yeah.
Because we're reevaluating. It's the whole state of the farm economy. What the Deere dealerships, if you drive by, Mississippi, Arkansas, Tennessee, Kentucky, go by a John Deere dealership. They got equipment sitting on the lot everywhere.
Tell you something I noticed in the last couple of weeks. And I don't have a Facebook account, but my wife does, and I get on hers
Right.
to look at Marketplace. Like, that's literally the only thing I look at on there.
Yeah.
And I was amazed, and not a shot at them by any means. The salesmen at our local Deere that were listing equipment on
Yeah.
Facebook Marketplace, like in the farm groups, it's like, ooh, this is not
Yeah.
a good sign.
I mean,
Yeah.
Like, you know, normally I would say they don't have to go to those measures, but they were like, yeah, you know, call us at such John Deere dealership. We got this on the lot. And I was like, oh man, they're which I mean, I imagine they got some free time on their hands too, because
I mean, it's going to be interesting fall.
Yeah.
It is going to be interesting fall. You know, and there's a lot of things. And
it's
after
gonna be interesting for a lot of reasons.
Well, and I'll tell you, I told Logan this. You know, in the early part of 2000s, I was farming, had two little girls. They were younger than what Logan's kids are now, but a little bit, not much younger. And we were in kind of the same situation we're in now. We were low commodity prices. We'd come through 2 years of just terrible crops. I think 2001, I can't remember if it was 1 or 2, we were declared a disaster area, which ended up, when you're declared a disaster area because of drought or whatever, that allows emergency disaster loans to be open through FHA, or which is now FSA, but it was Farmers Home Administration, the lending institution. And, you know, it was just bad. And, you know, you get to a point where you're just tired. You get down and it's kicked. And I told him, I said, you know, so it put a bunch of us out, younger farmers, and I say, you're going to see young and old go out this round, I think. The old, they quit. They're like, I'm not going to farm everything I got that I've worked my whole life out. I'm tired of fighting this battle.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, there'll be some that stay around. I'm not saying all, but there'll be some, especially ones that don't have another generation coming up behind them. They're like, I'm done. I'm not, you know. And there'll be some that say, you know, I've done this my whole life. I'm just going to keep fighting, but whatever. Most of them. And then you'll have the young, because they're so leveraged. If they've gotten into this market or gotten into farming, and the last 2 or 3 years have been good.
Yeah.
So, I have you and some other people that I know that are younger farmers that have kind of held it back and said, hey, I've had some couple of good years.
Yeah.
But I've also got some younger farmers that had some really good years, and you look out there and you look at some of the equipment that they're running, and it's like,
Yeah, you know they're freaking strapped.
Yeah, because they've traded up, because we've had good years and that.
Yeah.
You know, I read a statistic the other day that was talking about, said we have a whole generation of people, and Logan, you fall in this category, and Bobby, I don't know if you do or not, but that have never experienced inflation.
Yeah.
I mean, you know, the price of goods have gone up in your lifetime, obviously, but you have never seen inflation.
Not to this degree.
Now, I'm 53, so I was actually, 10, 11 years old in the early 80s when we hit, stagflation that they call it.
Yeah.
And I remember it. I remember, not that I was in the market or financially or whatever, but I can remember people talking about it. I can remember lines at the gas station. I can remember, being on the news. And then I can remember my parents talking about, hey, we've got to get, really watch what we're doing and watch what we're spending. Wasn't a lot of vacation time going on, which was a different time. We moved on past that, but we've lived in especially in our country, we had 2008 housing crisis bump but we saw some of that in this area.
Yeah.
But it didn't kill us. I mean, it was mostly, y'all are South Tipton, but that area where a lot of new houses being built, those kind of things, housing crisis. But we overcame it pretty quickly. Other areas of the country were hit, so we kind of have insulated ourselves and didn't really see it. Now this is a kick in the gut.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
And, everybody says, man, what are we going to do? And I have the same thing they ask you. What are we going to do? What are we going to do?
Yeah.
Buy cows. They're high.
No, that's what I tell people. You want into cows right now, you don't want to, which that was 2 weeks ago. Yeah, then you can get in a little cheaper today than you could have 2 weeks ago.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's what, the cattle market fell out of bed. I guess, hell, I went out of town and the cattle market just went to shit.
But it's still way better than anything else that's out there because you have cheap feed.
Yeah, well, yeah, and that's one positive with commodities being terrible.
Yeah, absolutely.
It's like, feed costs are down, which I had actually commented that one of our last couple I'd paid less for feed.
Yeah.
Bulk feed that I'd bought.
Bobby Lee said he was happy for our woes in the row crop world.
I wasn't happy, but I was like, I'm happy to pay less for feed.
Everybody's got to say, gold pot at the end of the rainbow. I mean, it's one. What did I say? One man's trials is another man's triumph.
Yeah.
But it is funny when you talk about inflation, how high everything is. But like cattle have been up, but relative to the rising cost of everything else, they hadn't. Compared to what they cattle were selling for 40 years ago. Like, my God, no, they hadn't kept up at all.
Well, that's what I was talking to one of my grain marketers that I deal with there. I guess I got off the phone with him and then got on to talk to you because I was bush hogging for 11 hours the other day, so I had a lot I could just chat. And that's what I was talking to him, and I said, man, this episode, we're not trying to be Debbie Downers, we're trying to be real because we have a ton of guys that message and they're like, man, how can I get into farming? And a lot of them, like if they ask me, it's always row cropping. If they ask you, it's cattle. And it's like, I've said this on here before, a lot of people think like, I want to be a farmer. In their mind, they picture a big-ass John Deere tractor pulling a planter and harvesting in a combine or running, 250 head of cattle. And it's like, man, like I get it. I mean, I'm a row crop farmer. I get it. But there's a lot of other ways to be in farming, in agriculture than just that. And that's why, like I've been telling people, I'm like, this is the time, if that's what you want to do, be creative and kind of explore other avenues.
And that's, I think, it's easy, real speaking, to be a commodity farmer. You grow a crop, and that's not easy. I'm not going to Mike Bloomberg you.
Yeah.
But, what you do when you're ready to sell it, you take it to the grain elevator.
Yeah.
You dump it, and they give you a check. That's that simple. And I think the days of being a commodity farmer, whatever your commodity is, for the small to even medium-sized guy are going away.
Yeah.
It's hard.
Yeah.
It's getting harder and harder.
The commodities are going to be, the margin's going to be so thin, it's going to come down to the guys that are working so many acres, they can spread out all those other costs.
Yeah. And
you're gonna have to find a niche. You're gonna need to find, with cattle, it's fairly straightforward. You go direct to consumer. Now how do you do that? There's 1,000 different ways within direct to consumer to do it. But, the vegetable farming, the produce stand, that sort of thing.
Yep.
But it's like, I don't know, like just being a soybean farmer, cotton farmer,
It's going to get tougher and tougher.
It is. But
is. And I will say this. Same way it was in 2001, 2, 3. And it squeezed a bunch of us out. But you know what? A bunch of them got in between us.
Yeah.
And it gets better. It does get better if you can weather the storm. it does get better. But every time it does that, it's fewer of us that get back in. Or the struggle is, it's like, the Facebook page you started, the Small and Beginning Farmers. It's awesome. I love the pictures on there.
Oh, I do too.
Some guy's got like an Oliver tractor out there pulling a grain drill, and I'm like looking at him going, man, that thing's older than I am. But hell, he's doing it. He is doing it.
And they're pumped. He's working 12 acres.
Yeah,
and he's
pumped. Hey, I'm working my family farm this year. It's not but 12 acres, but I'm gonna try to get my uncle's farm. It's 5 more. We'll go with it. And I'm like,
we got 30,000 members.
Yeah, but it's awesome. It is killer. I mean, and I get pumped up every time I see it because those guys are excited about agriculture.
Yeah.
But all right, so I have of course I'm in industry outside of agriculture as well. Most of my business but this is the way I've talked to somebody. I said, I just don't understand what y'all, farmers, man. And I said, all right, so Bobby Lee, you got a vet clinic, right? Y'all operate a business. How about you get up every morning and you go in and you can't set a price. It doesn't matter what you pay for a vaccine for that dog. It doesn't matter what you're paying for your labor. It doesn't matter anything that you're doing. You got to sit up there and look at a trade board this traded in Chicago by speculators that have nothing to do with your business, and they're going to tell you how much you can pay for this dog that's coming in to get its shots. Yeah. And it may be below your cost of operating. And I mean, and you're like, well, I'm going to have to do it anyway because I've got all these people. I've got the vaccines. I've got everything. I'm already committed. So, yeah, I'm going to have to do it at a loss this year.
Yeah. Well, say
or this day. Or
like, we're so spoiled because obviously, we don't have to deal with that. Like, if you told me I was going to operate at a loss or even at a break even, I said, I can go fishing and break even.
Right.
Yeah.
Like, I can sit on my couch and watch Netflix and break even. Like, I ain't got to come in here and bust my ass all day long to break even.
Yeah.
But then you got to start. You have the location to come back.
Farmers
to
do that all the time. Yeah.
But I mean, if
we're just hoping to break even this year.
If we quit, if we say, the hell with this, I'm just going fishing. I mean, looking, I would say a large portion of your farms that you work is rented land.
Yep.
What would happen if you said, I'm out. I'm not going to do it this year. They're going to find somebody to work the land.
Somebody else will jump right in there.
Somebody else is going to work it. Somebody else is going to do it. So, and then you're sitting there looking at it. Well, I got a tractor note to pay. I got a combine note to pay. I got this. I got that. Whatever, that you got this tied up in there that you either got to get out completely, but it's not like I can just say, I'm not going to do it this year. Prices are low. I'm not going to do it.
Pause for a year.
Yeah, I'm not going to do it.
Well, and that's what I was getting at talking to my marketer and then talking to you. We both were, I said, the thing that I want people to understand is it is a wave, it's you ride a high wave, you ride a low, but where every time you do those highs and lows, it wears you down. Like mentally, it's such a weird thing. Like, farming, I've told people, like, I love farming, but I'm like, farming is going to kill me. I'm like, I love farming, but it's going to kill me because I stress so much. But I'm still, as much as I stress, I'm like when I was a machinist, my stress levels were very low because I showed up, set up my machine, and did what I knew what I had to do. They had my parts, and I did all my stuff. But I was miserable as hell, and I wasn't stressed. Now I'm super stressed, but I do love what I do. But I'm going to tell you, man, years like this where you hit them lows, the love really is tested.
Tested a lot.
And you, like, especially when you have a year like I did last year where you have a bad year, and then you go into a year and it's bad going into the year, and you're like, shit. Because when you go through a whole year and you have a bad year at the end financially, you're like, that's a year of my life that I just dedicated to something that I didn't make any money. I lost money. And I mean, and I talked to, I've shared.
And you've done nothing different or nothing, you've done nothing different than you have done in the past 9.
Yes. Yeah.
And, you've done everything right. You've done everything you're supposed to. And that's like, and I said, and other businesses fail as well.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
The economy changes. I can go out here and open up a snow cone thing on the side of 51 Highway up there. And I may go like gangbusters for the next month and a half.
Yeah.
But when it starts getting cold, what's going to happen with that snow cone stand? I mean, it's going to go busted.
Yep.
If I don't make the preparation, and it's like, well, I didn't do anything. But, I wasn't planning. You didn't do this. I mean, you did everything like you were supposed to do. You did everything right. You planned. You did. You watched what you were spending. You watched that, and at the end of the day, you're done.
Yep. Yeah.
And another metaphor I told somebody, I said, so there again, I said, you go to work every day. All right. I don't care what you do. You're a vet. You go to work every day. You work hard every day, and we're not going to draw a penny till November.
Yeah. Yeah.
And in November, you're going to get paid for everything that you've done all year. So let's say you work 40 hours a week, 52 weeks of the year. So here it comes, and you're getting ready to get paid in November, and you get paid less. You get paid, 30 hours a week for 52 weeks a year. You're like, man, you're cutting me 10 hours a week. That's all I can afford to pay you.
Yeah.
How long are you going to stay there?
Yeah. Yeah. Oh yeah. Well, and that's what I'm saying, man. Like it does. Yeah. Because you put a lot into farm.
You do.
You put a lot into it, and I mean, and when it's good, it's good. Like when it's good, I've had great years.
Yeah.
Like I've had great years, but the problem with it is, I've always heard every farmer is like 2 bad years away from going broke.
Always.
Like that's what I've always heard. And the older guy that I talked to, that he's a landlord, he's awesome. He used to farm, and I shared about. He told me, because we were talking after last year. I guess when I was paying him rent, and he was like, "Well, that was a year." And I just told him, I was like, "Man, it was shitty." I was like, "It was real shitty." And he said, "Man, back when I was farming, it was back like in the '80s." He said, "I was farming." He said, "I had a bad year." And he said, "And I'll be damned if I didn't have another one right after." And he said,
80, 81, and that year was like 80, 81, 82.
Yeah. He was like, "You think one bad year's bad?" He said, "Have 2 bad years in a row." He said, and he was like, "I couldn't even get finance to put in my crops." He said, "I was maxing out credit cards at 27% interest rates to try to put in my crops." And he said, and somehow, he said, "I'll be damned if I didn't get out of it." He was like, he said, "I made it and actually survived and farmed." He farmed for a little longer, and he reached a point where he said, "Man, the fight for me just wasn't worth it anymore." And he said, "I had the opportunity to get out," and he said, "Man, I got out." And he was like, "I miss farming," but he said it was the right decision.
Sure. And I mean, and it's now, I don't want to sit here and plant gloom and doom. Yes, we're in a low market cycle. Can we come out of it? Absolutely, we can. I think the frustrating thing to me, and I shared this with you, is, you go and you hear and they give you this reason, that reason, whatever. A lot of the reason is we don't have a foreign market. Our export market, and they gave the numbers. We used to be, and we still are the largest producer of corn in the world.
Yeah.
We used to be the largest producer of soybeans in the world. We are no longer the largest producer of soybeans in the world. A lot of our export markets have gone away.
Yeah.
The frustrating thing to that is, I'm not sitting here, and I don't want to say, "Oh, we deserve, better treatment. We deserve this. We deserve that." Well, some of our markets went away because of the political system that we live in.
Yeah.
And I'm not saying it was bad. They were doing what they felt like was right, and I agree with a lot of the things they did. But that's why our market went away. But then, and just because of the system we live in, we had another system come in, and they're not holding the same our trading partners to the feet to the fire.
Yeah.
So they allowed them to go somewhere else. So we're paying the penalty. And I mean, you said, "I wish government would get completely out of it." And I said, that's a pipe dream. We would all love for government to get out of it. But we can't.
Yeah.
Because they control that. They go over there and they say, "Hey," and I'm not in any way, look at this crazy stuff that's going on in the Middle East. And I'm not in any way saying, you go in there and say, "All right, we're mad at you, so we're going to put an embargo in on you, or we're not going to do this to you." And I 100% agree with that. But that was, say, one of our bigger markets that we're going to. So they're still going to eat. They're still going to find. They're just going to find other avenues to go to.
Yep.
And that's what's happened in South America with our soybean crop. China has said, "Okay, y'all want to get in a trade war with us? We're going to find." And it took them about 3 to 4 years to get that market solidified and go to the South American market.
Yep.
But our politicians are not going to China, or our people that are not going to China and saying, "Hey, this isn't the deal we had.
Yeah.
We said we were going to back some of our tariffs off on your products, and doing this, but you were going to agree to come and buy so much of our products, and you're not holding up your end of the deal.
Yeah. I feel like we're terrible about that.
We are.
We don't hold people's feet to the flames. Like, and that's, and we talked about, again, you got these companies, these big ag companies, American ag companies that build cheaper equipment for overseas farming. Like they build, I mean, I think I shared this on here, John Deere, and I hate to rag on John Deere all the time. That's like mostly what I run, but they make a combine. I can't even remember what it is, like an SL 200, or you can Google they make a combine for overseas farming. And it doesn't have quite the horsepower of ours. It's not as fancy, but it's a brand new combine. So, I mean, when I hear that, I'm thinking, all right, so all the bearings are brand new on this combine. Like, they can run that thing for a couple years without issues. Brand new combine, and it's like an eighth of the cost of what one of our machines cost here. Tractors, there's all kinds of stuff.
So I saw a thing on TikTok, and it was a trucker or guy or whatever. He was at one of the ports, and they were shipping out brand new John Deere tractors going overseas. I don't know where they were going. I'm going to say South America because it makes me feel good. They had 0 emissions on there.
Yeah.
No DEF, none of that kind of stuff.
Yep.
But we have to run them.
Yep.
And I'm not saying I'm whatever your feelings are on the climate control, whatever you have yours, I have mine.
Yeah.
But they're playing by a different set of rules.
Yeah.
And as we are not holding these American companies feet to the fire and saying, hey, you're killing us, but you're giving it away to them.
Yeah.
And I shared this with you too. And I said, back in the early 2000s when Roundup Ready came out, we were planting it like going and coming. It was the best thing since sliced bread. We weren't having to fight pigweeds as bad. No more hoes, no more cultivators, no more. It was great. Well, then we come and find out, they started growing Roundup Ready soybeans in Brazil. And they weren't paying a tech fee.
Yeah.
Yep.
Now, we had at the time, it's still kind of built in the cost, but it was like, you're going to buy a bag of soybeans for $50, and you were going to pay a $30 tech fee.
Yeah.
And you had to sign this big agreement that you weren't going to do. We gratefully did it because the technology was there. That we could, and it allowed a big boom in agriculture because we could work more acres with less equipment, with less labor, and, it just allowed that. But then we come to find out they're selling this product to other countries, and they don't have a tech fee.
Yeah.
They're paying the same or less than what we're paying, and they're our competition.
Yeah.
And it was done from and Monsanto's not American owned now, but I mean their headquarters were in St. Louis.
Yeah. That's what it gets me, man. It's like they sell it. Yeah, I feel like it's very much just a selling your soul for greed kind of thing. Like it's what it is.
And they could give you some. I'm sure you could get somebody who was from Monsanto back in the day.
It was to make the the people were they'd have some.
We had no. I think it was a guy named Scott Balcom. If anybody on here remembers in West Tennessee, the Monsanto rep at the time, his name was Scott Balcom. He would come in and tell us like, well, we can't. This is different regulatory agencies they have over there, and we do this, and really we just can't fight it because they're saving the seed over there anyway, blah blah blah. They're pirated seed. We don't have
quit selling it to them.
Yeah,
right. I mean, put the Terminator gene in there.
Yeah,
where you can't save the seed. They have that.
Yeah,
and it got fought and did whatever because, and you can look up on Google anything. Monsanto goes after such and such farmer, this farmer for pirated seed. We paid the price. We paid the tech fee. We signed it. We agreed not to save our seed. We sold everything that we had. And we agreed. Now and some people didn't, and if they got caught, they paid dearly. And I was absolutely, okay, because that's turnabout's fair play.
Yeah.
But we got whole countries that we're selling it to or giving it to that are not paying the price.
Yeah, yeah.
And, I mean, I just and now we've lost the designation, and we've it's going to be really really hard to ever get that market back.
That's my big thing. It's like the fight we fight of the ups and the downs and ups and downs. I mean, generally, a lot of times they're based on natural disasters, and that's like, you hate to ever be like wishing somebody would get blasted by a hurricane, but like literally, that's like when you talk to marketers and stuff now, they're like, man, I hate to say this, but best thing that could happen be a damn hurricane or something blow their crops out of the field down there, and it's like that's where we have yielded ourselves out of a market, and so I was listening to or reading an article about David Hula, who's the like world record corn grower. He shelled 620 something for like 624 bushels or something to the acre corn, and he said he thinks his new goal is like 800 or 900 bushels per acre. He said after hitting the 6 something, he now believes it's possible to get corn to 800 or 900 bushel to acre, and he said that's not. Everybody likes to hate on him. Well, it's on 5 acres, and he's got this and that and there. And he said, my point is, if doing all these things I could get to 800 bushels, then that would mean that we could do just a few things and do the right things. We could get corn to averaging 400 bushel an acre without going crazy. And that sounds cool. Like you read that and you're like, man, 400 bushel an acre. But then you think, it's like right now, corn is worth $3 and something. And you think about, it's going to be relative, like from a bean standpoint. So if they can shell 400 bushel of corn, some dude will be pushing beans to like 200 bushels an acre and something crazy. And it sounds awesome. You're like, man, damn, I can't imagine seeing that come through. But it's like,
you're going to need a fraction of the growers.
Yes, you're going to need a fraction of the growers.
Fraction of the acres.
Yep.
And that's one of the things that I have looked at. I've heard y'all talk about it. We've all talked about it. Like this green space that people are coming in. They're putting up solar panels for some of the best farmland around here. Blah, blah, blah.
Yep.
I don't give a damn right now. Put them up as much as you can, because we need less acres.
Yeah.
Well, that's it. Just as I'm sitting here and I'm listening, the mouse is running on the wheel in my head, and because obviously we rely heavily on exports to support our commodity prices, and that's great. Like if we can sell and bring in money from around the globe, that's fantastic. But at what point, I don't know, do we just say, all right, look, we just want to grow what we need? And I guess that's what we've always done. We've grown what we need if we got any excess. And of course the demand was there from the foreign markets. And so we just started growing more and more and more and started pulling in more and more marginal acres that maybe shouldn't have even been farmed to begin with. At what point we just kind of say F them to the rest of the world. We're just going to worry about ourselves. And I don't even know, I'm sure there's figures out there like what percentage of our corn and soybeans are exported?
25%.
25%.
Really?
So, yeah.
Around 25%.
Yeah.
So immediately you need 25% fewer acres. That means 25% fewer producers. And then that's before we're growing 800 bushel corn.
Yeah.
So it's...
Then at that point we need 3 farmers.
Yes. Well, I just was telling a buddy that because the farm I was bush hogging, I just was doing some custom bush hogging on it. And because commodity prices are terrible, so I was like, yeah, sure, I'll go I'll go bush hog for you.
That's what we're going to do. Some alternative revenue streams. I mean, it's gonna happen.
It is. But so I was out there, and this farm, the person that owned it died last year, and their family sold it for like $3,500 an acre.
That's what I heard.
To a Dallas investment company.
Yeah, I know exactly what you're talking about.
Yep. They sold it to this investment firm out of Dallas, Texas, and now this is
I know like 27 people that are like, son of a bitch, if I had known it was they were sell it to an out-of-town group for that, I'd have paid that.
Yes. Well,
the people
now
that sold it got to feel like idiots.
They've got to, because they're about to watch this thing go for major bucks, because this company is now split it into 6 tracts. It's 104 acres. They got 6 tracts. They're going to auction the thing off, all 6 tracts, and then they're going to do one lump sum, and whichever's the higher amount is what they'll take. But I was telling my buddy, like, he called me and he was like, man, I'd be interested in it, but I don't know. I said, dude, it wouldn't shock me if this shit don't go for like 19,000 an acre or something crazy. But I said, the problem is, and we got to talking about the solar panel stuff. I said, I have bitched about the solar panel thing, but I was like, you know what? Honestly, at this point, it's like, we don't even need the acres anymore. Like, we're seeing there is no demand. There is no demand because we have such an abundant supply.
Right. Yeah.
And if we had a major drought that like wiped out like 70% of our crops, we'd be in a terrible situation. They'd be like, oh shit, we need all this stuff. But we're not in that boat. We've had bumper crops, And so we just have so much. So I understand, honestly, I understand why people aren't concerned about the loss of farmland, because there's just,
We've become more efficient.
We haven't
Yes.
we're not going hungry.
no.
I mean, you know, we talked about this. I mean, you look at some of the tremendous yields that are going out there. Like we talk, corn yields here, 150, maybe, some irrigated corn goes above 200. But
Yeah.
I mean, that's pretty much between, I'd say, 150 and 230. And that 230 on the high end's irrigated stuff around here.
Yeah.
That's about as good as you're going to get. You go up in the corn belt and they say, I'm going to make 285 bushel corn. If I don't make over 250 bushel corn, I'm not doing something right. And you're like going, good. But then I also told you, I said I saw the same thing. He said he made $375 an acre rent.
Yeah.
Now,
They ain't making no more money than we are.
So here comes the trick. Here's the other part on the economics. And, let's talk about my old buddy Reagan comes out here and we talked about trickle down Reaganomics, trickle down economics, whatever. It kind of starts at the top. So what's going to happen is when we come in here, Logan, we've had a bad year, and we've had 2 bad years in a row. What is your single most expensive thing on a per acre cost that you do?
Rent. Yeah.
So we talked about this. I said, you can go to your landlord and say, hey, Bobby Lee, I work your farm. Man, I had a terrible year. And I had a terrible year last year. I really need to do something about this rent. I'm paying you $100, whatever, $100 an acre for it. I really need to knock it down to 75. You're going to look at me and says, man, I hate it. But I got Joe Blow down the road last year that offered me 125, but I really liked you and I turned him down, so I'm going to go call him.
Yeah.
And I mean, now we say that, and that is our fear as the farmer. But like I told you the other day, I said, I'm not so sure Joe Blow down the road is going to come up and say, yeah, I'll give it to you. I'm not so sure Joe Blow can go get the finances from the bank to do it. Yes, there are some out there that are very financially secure, that have, been long-term farmers where they're, like your dad and your uncle, they're in a different financial position than you're in.
Yeah.
Because they've been in it a long time. They've got some equity built up in some equipment and land and some other different things where they can weather the storm, and they can, it's a time for them to grow.
Yeah.
Could be. But I don't see a lot of people jumping out, well, hell, I lost $150 an acre this year. Why do I want to work another 100 acres?
Yeah. Yeah.
So I don't see that. So then now we're getting into the landlord side. The largest population that own land in the United States, what do you think their age group is?
Oh,
gosh.
Give me options. Like it's the highest one.
Yeah, see, like 65 to 85.
Yeah.
I was about
It's
to
the
say,
people that own the majority of the land that is rented, that is out for rent for agriculture.
Yeah.
And one of the guys yesterday showed this map of where the biggest majority of rented land is. It's like northern Illinois, because it was and he told the story about why northern Illinois, but it's like northern Illinois, and then you come down, and it's through the Mississippi Delta where we are.
Yeah.
And the most fertile places in agriculture is where the farmers own the least amount of land.
Yeah. Yeah.
And it's owned, majority, and then you have some corporate owned land, but the majority of the family owned or whatever, like land absentee landowner, they're between like 65 and 85 years old.
Yeah.
And they live, and a lot of them have they're relying on this land rent they have for retirement or to supplement their retirement or whatever. When that land rent number starts backing off, because it's going to. I mean, we can't sit here and continue to give. Now, I'm not saying everybody, but there's some tremendous land rent out there in our area and in other areas of the world that they're going to come in and say, I can't pay this.
Like the freaking $312 an acre we were talking about.
Yeah. I mean, it's kind of like, and they're saying, well, yeah, you got a contract. I don't care.
Yeah.
Sue me.
Yeah.
I'm broke. You can't get blood out of a turnip. So I mean, just sue me. I can't pay that.
Yeah.
Now, if you'll lower it down to, 125 to 100, I can go on. I can cash flow a little better, and I can keep farming. But if you're not going to let me work this land for 25% less than what I'm working it now, I'm out of business.
Yeah.
And that contract that we have, stick it up your behind, because it ain't worth a damn.
Yeah. Yeah.
And so then that money comes into play. Then you're looking at all our friends that work at Helena, all our friends that work at Simplot, all our friends that work at, Co-op or Nutrient, their sales are going to go down.
Yeah.
So they're, same as John Deere, AGCO, Kinsey are the tip of the iceberg. They're so big, and I can't believe we hadn't seen CNH Financial, CNH doing it yet. It's coming because they've got economists on staff that are looking and they're predicting stuff 5-10 years down the road.
And their shit's just as bad. Like a planter from them, one of their new planters is like $450,000.
Yes.
So I mean, it's not. Yeah, John Deere gets picked on a lot because honestly, John Deere's the big man on the block. Like they're the top of the. People can say whatever they want. John Deere is the peak of the mountain.
Yeah. You ride around the country. I mean, I saw a statistic one thing. I think John Deere controls like 60% of the ag market.
Yeah,
and
I believe it.
And the other 40% is spread out between. I think Case might have 25%, and then you looking at the other. New Holland, Fendt, some of those that Kinsey, whatever, depending on the line that you're looking at. But John Deere is the big guy on the block.
Yeah.
So that's what it makes such big waves that, we're shipping off jobs to Mexico. They already had a factory in Mexico.
Yeah.
They just shifted some of what they're making here to there. But did they lay off any people in Mexico?
Probably not.
Probably not.
Yeah.
Just saying.
Yeah.
And I'm not saying, John Deere should be unprofitable to do business with us for the United States. But what I'm saying is John Deere has had 3 years of a record profit.
Yeah.
Now, their economic forecast comes in here and they say, hey, the ag economy is making a downturn. We need to get ahead of this curve. That's why the layoffs are. That's why they're there. And, you hear people say, they're laying off people and they make all this money. Well, if they don't lay them off and their business downturns, then they're not going to make all this money, and they're going to start giving this money. They're not in the business of losing money.
Yeah.
So they're making economic forecast. But my thing is, did they lay off anybody in Mexico?
Yeah, I doubt it. Yeah, I highly doubt it. Yeah. Well, that's where, man, I don't know. We're just trying to be real. Like the one thing, I guess, on a positive note, I'd say is if you can survive these years, it just makes you that much stronger in the good years.
Absolutely. So and I don't want to say gloom and you're going to go out, Logan. I'm not saying that. What we're going to have to do is, and there are some tools that we're going to look at our risk management strategies. And when I'm not just saying insurance, I'm saying, hey, let's look at my whole big picture. Yeah. Where can I squeeze? And you think, that's not, if I can save one trip across the field, that's not that big a deal, but it could be.
Yeah.
Pennies make nickels, nickels make dimes, dimes make quarters, quarters make dollars.
Yeah.
Everything's that something. And we look at our picture, we tighten our belts, we get back to where we need. Input prices are already coming down.
Yeah.
They're coming down.
I'll tell you what has me leveraged the most is it actually helps me in the same sense. It's owning land.
Yeah.
Like, and we talked about, honestly, as bad as this year looks, I am like, I'm not pumped for this year.
No.
But I'm like, you know what? If we had just all bad, just everything goes wrong that can go wrong in harvest, and we have a terrible year, I own a couple hundred acres. So I've got some ground. And I'm talking worst case scenario. Worst case scenario, I could shed some land.
Yeah.
I could restructure, like we talked about. Might have to change some equipment a little bit. Might cut down to one semi truck. Like do some things like that. And it's like I can continue rolling.
Yeah.
Like if I got I got a landlord listening. Don't panic. I don't have any plans on going out. Like I feel that I am in a position that I could weather. I don't want to go through another year like last year, but I do feel that in a worst case scenario, I can restructure, I can survive.
Yeah.
But the problem, like the land notes have me very strapped.
Yeah.
But for the guy that I'd worry for is the dude that he rents everything and all his equipment is financed because he's a young guy. He's very much in my boat, but he's a young dude. He owns nothing. and he is like we said, leveraged to the max.
He has no room.
Yeah.
He has no wiggle room.
Yeah. Even if he sold everything, all he does is clear some of his debt, but he doesn't make any money to pay back any of the remaining debt.
No. So, I mean, and it's, that guy can survive too. He's got to sit there, because when times get like this, I mean, unless you're just completely upside down in everything you got, the bank wants to work with you. And if your lending institution don't want to work with you, go find another one.
Yeah.
There are some things that you can do to help, like I said, unless you're just way out there. And I don't think there's many that are way out there, because we have had some pretty good years previous to last year, you know, as far as agriculture goes. And it's not gloom and doom. We can weather this. Ag input prices are going to come down. You know, everything's going to get. Now, am I saying it's going to be sunshine and roses from here on out? No, it's not.
Yeah.
It's going to be probably 2 to 3 more tough years in here.
Yeah.
But we can make money at this. It's just like, you know, it's like I told you, I was talking to an old man one time, and he was talking about, he said, you see this farm we're sitting on here right here? So I paid for it 3 times. And I told you, it was kind of making me scratch my head. How did you pay for it 3 times? He said, well, I bought it and paid for it. About went broke, and I had to mortgage it again to get enough money out to get me out of debt. I paid for it again, and then I got a divorce and I had to buy my wife out of it. So I've paid for it 3 times.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I went, there you go. You know, and that is just agriculture. You know, but on the animal side, it's the same way. You know, like you said, it's not the time to buy cows. But is it the time to sell out of cows? No, because if you what the old saying goes, if you're getting in and out, you're out when you should be in, and in when you should be out.
Yeah.
You know, and so you just got to ride it out through there and hope you have enough equity and liquidity to weather those storms.
Well, that was one thing. Just as we were sitting here and we're talking about how we got too many acres. I mean, that's really what it comes down to.
You're like, we need to put more damn cows out there.
Well, and I don't know what percentage of our current crop land was once in pasture, but I know
a lot.
A shit around here a lot.
I know a couple of fellows that have done that in the last decade, that have sold a bunch of cows, plowed up a bunch of pasture, and grown corn and soybeans. Like how many in cattle, even though they've fallen out of bed the last week or two, have been really good here lately.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I don't know that you'd get those two gentlemen to admit to it, because at their age they don't want to mess with cows anymore, but be nice to have all that fenced again, just in grass with a bunch of stocker steers out there on it that you might stand to make, you know, $100 to $200 a head, which is usually about $100 to $200 an acre on.
Yeah.
I know those two, and because if it wasn't their idea, they would say, "Hell no, I still wouldn't want to do it."
I know those two you're referring to.
Yeah, they wouldn't want to do it because they didn't come up with that idea. But how long, you know, before you start to see people, and it'd probably take multiple years. Let's say, you know what, there's a little bit of money in cattle. We're barely breaking even on a good year crop ground. Why don't we put some fences back up and
I mean,
put some of this ground back in grass and graze some cattle?
When the prices get up, what was it the year? It wasn't I don't know. I saw the graph the other day when the corn market went.
Was that 12?
12 or so.
Yeah.
People
like
were tearing
$7.
down fences. They were busting up pasture. They were pulling land out of CRP before the contract was up.
Yeah.
Because we are, as American farmers, we are our own worst enemy.
Yeah,
We
are.
overproduce. You know, and the guy yesterday was talking about. He said where we kind of need to be is, and he said, I know you're not gonna like it, but it's everybody wins at like $5 corn and $12.50 soybeans.
Yeah.
The producer makes a little money. The feed guy's making a little money. The cattle guy's making a little money. Nobody's getting rich, but that's kind of where the sweet spot. When we get above $12.50 beans, what do? I'm planting soybeans, you know.
Yeah.
What's it that Lee always says that the cure for high prices is high prices?
Absolutely.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
And I don't think he came up with that, but it's like
yeah.
And he says like we're our own worst enemy.
And I think about that in a year like this, because again, a lot of our mindset is
supply and demand.
Yeah,
and
we're like, we got to yield our way out of this market, and it's like we're going to yield our way out of the market. We're doing that, and so it's like if prices are bad now, and let's say we have a huge bumper crop for some reason this year,
everybody hangs on. Yeah,
Yikes.
in reality, it sounds terrible, but you're hoping a whole lot of people don't hang on.
Yeah,
You know,
yeah.
I mean,
in all reality,
because if everybody hangs on, that means like, oh shit, like
Yeah.
everybody did too damn good.
Yeah.
All right, so
Price is going down even more.
I saw a thing when I was coming up here, and this was this guy talking, whatever, and it was on a social media channel, and he was talking about, said that, like, I forgot what percentage he said, but a lot of these farmers are still holding on to last year's crop.
Well,
corn
that's
crop.
what's killing corn right now.
But they're not selling it.
Well,
why is it make? But and so,
but I
but
think
the
that the-
speculators are short the market, and the guys holding it are long the market, and they're like, I'm not selling it. Speculators are like, we need it because we got to cover these shorts.
Yeah.
But the guys are like, I'm not selling it for $3.80.
Yeah.
I think
Yeah.
they're thinking that what are they going to do with it here once harvest starts?
That's what they're thinking, and they're like,
Yeah.
That's
but
where the
so
short
they're gonna-
positions feel like it's got to come to town.
It's got to
eventually.
come to town eventually, and it's the ultimate pissing match we're in right now. And
Oh,
it's,
they're urging them. Like I just saw an article the other day, and it said they are urged to aggressively sell corn now. Like and that's what I've heard is absolutely smoking our markets right now on corn.
But now the soybeans, which I guess if I'd have thought about investing in the market now, if we didn't see this coming, I don't think nobody saw $9 soybean.
No,
I really thought, I knew we would, and I think I told you this back this winter. I said I really think we'll see beans with a 10 in front of them again.
yeah,
And I was like, I hope not. And I said, I really think we will, because the corn price was so low. We had, and everybody knew, we've got a glutton of corn out there. Bins are busting out there in the Midwest. They're like, we're not selling it because we're not doing this, blah, blah, blah. So what is everybody going to do? Plant more soybeans.
yep,
The price is down. I can't make money doing anything, but I got to keep going. So I'm going to minimize my risk, minimize my exposure. I'm going to plant more soybean. How much corn you got, Logan?
none.
You know, I've got several producers who typically farm, and they raise between 100 and 1,000 acres, okay, of
Yeah.
corn every year.
I've never not had corn hardly.
I have several producers, and I'm gonna say, you know, in some more than, but anyway, let's just say between 100 acres and 1,000 acres. I have probably 5 or 6 producers that have zero.
Yeah, yeah. This is
Now-
the first year in several years I've not had any
You know,
corn.
they'll say, "Oh well," you know, and then we don't have enough
You grow some
acres.
sweet corn.
Yeah, I got a couple acres of sweet corn I've
You know,
grown this year.
Our production does not swing the market one way or the other.
Yeah.
But it is part of the production. But if we're doing it, the other people are doing it.
Absolutely. Yep.
So why are we sitting here in August surprised that I'm surprised at 980 beans. I am. But why are we surprised at that? Because
Well, like you said, you know, the hard pill of reality was last year I was selling beans. I sold beans at $14.50, and then we get into this year. I booked some beans at like $12.25. Not near enough, because we were kind of, you know, they were like, man, we don't know. Things look very questionable. But typically, and I even told guys on the show, I was like, I feel like we're going to have a mid-year rally, because we tend to have that one bump mid-year rally. Even if it's not substantial, we catch a mid-year rally. Dude, from the start of the year to now, it ain't done nothing but go down.
Do you remember when you booked those beans? Was it December?
Man, I don't even remember.
Probably December, early January.
Yeah.
Because that was the opportunity we had in this market.
Yeah.
And then it's been,
I did not book near enough.
no, that's what everybody says.
And that's what, like,
If
the
they even
marketer.
but I mean, so many people said, I mean, that was, who the hell was thinking about, we just come after last year's crop where we're kind of like, oh, man, this is kind of a shocker. And then that's when our marketing opportunity was there. Nobody thought that it was going to just keep, even the marketers did not think it was going to fall that
that's
fast.
what my marketer told me straight up. He said, dude, he said, we're in vapor lock. He said, he said, Logan, I don't even know what to tell you to do. He was like, because he said, it seems like the trajectory on, it seems like it's just going to keep getting worse. He said, but like, he said, all of us are just scratching our heads, because he said, it's just gotten so bad. And,
But,
so,
I mean, it is what it is, you know.
Yeah.
I mean, we will move on. Days will get brighter. I too, I'm a traditional row crop guy.
yeah.
Okay, I'm a traditional commercial cattle guy. I'm not a purebred cattle. I think what both of y'all are doing and exploring some different avenues and thinking outside of the box is what we're going to have to do in agriculture today. We're going to have to do something that differentiates ourselves.
Yeah.
We're going to have to find ways to farm cheaper and better. We're just going to have to be the innovators that we are.
Well, you hit something that I've been thinking about a lot. I'm like, because, I had some beans that cut 70 bushel last year. And that's just that's just cool. You like it. You're like, oh man, yeah. And I was saying our mindset, a lot of guys are like, oh, I want to hit them 400 bushel corn. But now I've been thinking, I'm like, you know what, really, if you could figure out a way to average 50 bushel soybeans for half the inputs,
absolutely,
or 150 bushel corn for half the inputs, you would come out so much better ahead than because the thing about it, to get 300 bushel corn, because last year I shelled some pretty well into the 200s, and I was kind of experimenting. I was trying, and I put 300 units of nitrogen down. I put a lot of money in that corn. And so, to shoot for those 200, 300 bushel yields, you're really sticking your neck out there financially, and it don't take a lot for it to not pay.
Yeah. So if you got, if you're farming for 250 bushel corn, and you have your break-even point is 200 bushel corn.
Yep.
And it doesn't take a big stub. I mean, you make 195. That was really good, but I just lost I lost $20 an acre.
Yep. If you figure out a way to make 150 bushel corn profitable at 380,
yeah,
dude. I mean, and you maintain that. Then in those years when corn goes back up, 2 years ago I booked corn at 777.
Yeah.
I was patting myself on the back because the dude at the granary was like, damn. He was like, man, he said, I think that's the highest contract we got. He said 777. Now I didn't have, but I had booked like, 3,500, 5,000 bushel. It wasn't like a huge contract, but if you can figure out how to be profitable, like I said, at a 150 average, 383, man, in them 770 years or something, you would make a lot of money.
And we can do it. We just got to think outside the box.
Yeah.
We got to find, and I'll laugh, and I told you this story yesterday too. Logan and I talked for a long time yesterday. But, I had a buddy of mine said, man, what do you think I do? I said, buy some chicken houses. And he looked at me like I had two heads. He said, chicken houses? I said, yeah. I said, you're not going to get rich raising chickens, and you hear the horror stories of people that deal with some of these chicken places, and I won't mention any names, but you hear these horror stories. I said, but I can show you on the math where you're going to make between $35,000 and $50,000 per chicken house. Now that's a mega size house. And I said, you put you in three of them, it costs you one man. It's all automated. It's all this, temperature control. They got one guy that walks in the buildings every day and checks to make sure there are any dead ones or whatever it is.
Yeah.
I said, so it's not a lot of, the capital put it in there. And I said that, I said, what do you get from the chicken houses? Chicken litter.
Yeah.
You're not buying it. You're raising it. They're giving it to you. Tyson is giving it to you, or whoever, some of the other chicken places. So they're giving it to you. You're raising their birds for them. They're giving it to you. So you have the byproduct of raising that can help cut your fertilizer cost. And he said, I don't want to raise chickens. And I said, I don't either. But that's you want to think outside the box. Maybe you get maybe you put in some hog houses and you get a contract with Tosh, and he owns the pigs, he owns the feed. You're up the capital outlay to build a house, and you got a lagoon. What are you going to do with the stuff that comes out of the lagoon? Spread it on your fields.
Yeah,
it's all economic, and it's all. Now in the area we live in, that can be some problematic in some places when you go to spreading some type of animal manure on your fields but it's organic fertilizer.
Yep.
Doesn't get any more, and we're cutting our costs while should be making a profit doing something else.
Well, that's Matt and Kelly Griggs do a great job at that. And that's one of the things Matt is like a mad scientist. Right. And, we had them both on the show, and they were great on the show, and recommend their YouTube channel because Matt, he does the, one of the things he's working on all the time is a low input beans.
Absolutely.
And he actually does some low input beans, but hell, they ended up cutting they cut 70 or 80. They cut awesome. They cut awesome. And so I really think a lot of our mindset needs to shift from I got to make some horribly ungodly yields to how can I just become as insanely profitable as possible on the land?
That's what we got to do. I mean, and without compromising the land.
Yep.
And it's times like this that make the innovators in us come out.
Yeah.
You know, what is it? Iron sharpens iron. I mean, that's when the tough comes out.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, what, Bobby?
Well, anybody can survive a year where beans are $13, $14 a bushel.
Right.
Yeah. Yeah.
And really those years are probably bad for the industry because, again, you know, I mean, every now and then you need to trim the fat.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
And so...
I mean, and I hate to say this, and which is honest God truth. There's some people that are in production agriculture right now that probably don't have any business being in production agriculture.
Yes.
Yeah. That's another way of saying, same thing. Yeah.
Yeah. So what you know, and that's what. But I mean, you look back at the cattle industry. 5 or 6 years ago, it was in the dog. You know, I mean, you talking about making $100 to $200 per head on stocker cattle. You know, we were lucky to make 50. And if you put, you know, if you had death loss of 2 calves, we were out. We were losing money. So it goes in that. So it's not all gloom and doom. I mean, I think there's some things that we can do as an industry as a whole. We need to look at, and you know, and I'm not sitting here trying to get scare landlords. But we all need to get right.
Yeah.
You know, it's as they need to share the burden of this hard economic times just like we do.
Yeah.
And you know, we rely on them and they rely on us.
Well, that's where I think I have some great landlords that I communicate with, and then there are some that are like they don't know anything about ag, and they really don't care to know anything about ag. All they know is this is how much you get paid, and if they hear that the neighbor right down the road's getting paid more, well, then I want to get paid more. Yeah. And it's like, and they don't realize, and so that's where it's like, the farmer needs to do a little better job and the landlord needs to do a better job on communication between the two. Yeah. I mean, look, man, hey, if it's a bad year, like I tell my landlords, I'm like, man, it looks awful. It looks bad. Like, I'm like, it just looks bad. You know, we're in a bad year and, you know, doing this and that. Like, I'm authentic and genuine with them. I don't want them to, and I can honestly say, like, my landlords appreciate it. And it keeps them, I try to just keep them in the know of what the heck is going on.
But you know, and this is not, I don't think it's going to be a bad crop year. I don't think it's going to be a great crop year in our area. I don't think, but it's not going to be a bad crop year. And so that's where the landlord is going to have a hard time understanding when you say, hey, this is a bad crop year.
Yeah.
Don't be afraid to come in there and show them some numbers.
Yeah.
Hey, look, this is what, you know, here, this is where we are here.
Yeah.
You know, it's just the way it is. And they don't, because so many people are so far removed from agriculture, they don't understand the process and things that we go through. Agriculture is one of the best industries in the world, by far, by none. And, you know, not only is my livelihood is tied to it, but my family's livelihood, our legacy is that. And a lot of my family can go back for generational on the legacy of the land and to farm the land. And I think, yes, there's some land now that is in production that probably shouldn't be in production. And most of the time, when the bad time comes, it'll start sorting some of that out.
Yeah.
But, you know, we're looking at the triple whammy. We've got oversupply, down in demand, and an election year.
Yeah, yeah.
I mean, it's always. I mean, you know, a lot of times you can look in every 4 years, the ag market kind of goes flat.
Yeah.
Because it's like, well, we got to see what we're getting here.
Yeah.
You know, and I think in the take-home message that I would like to say from this is, you know, if you are one of these people that are inclined to call and talk to your senator, your congressman, whatever, share with them, say, hey, I'm tired of hearing about that. What you stopped this political party from doing that, and you're fighting that political party. You're fighting Nancy Pelosi, or you're fighting Chuck Schumer, or you're fighting Trump, or whatever. I don't care. Tell me what you're going to do to make my life better, and what you're going to do to alleviate the problems that we're in here now.
Yeah.
That's number one. Number two is let's follow through with some of these programs that we've had. You know, let's hold these foreign countries, these foreign companies that are coming in the United States let's hold them accountable. If you want to do business here, this is you're going to play by our rules.
Yeah.
And by our rules, the other places where you do business are going to be playing on the same rules that we do.
Yeah.
Just simple.
Yeah.
Let's all play from an even deck.
Yeah. Well, and I think, years like this show to me too, it's good to not have all your eggs in one basket.
Absolutely.
Like with the livestock thing, if you could figure out a way, and I had a guy message me not too long ago, and I think I forgot to message him back. I'm pretty bad about that. But he was like, man, you and Bobby Lee ought to figure out a way, like, for him to graze his cattle on your cover crops in the off season. And I said, that would be awesome. But I said, the logistics of it is just hard because one, like the vast majority of my farms don't have water. There's
Right.
no water on them. They don't have fences. But I'm like, that would be awesome. But it's like, I think, and a lot of times your row crop guys, older ones, they used to have row crop
Right.
and cattle.
Yeah,
like
absolutely.
Yep.
that was kind of their thing. It's like, and you'd have a bad year over here, this made up for that year there. And so, that's kind of what I'm trying to do with the store. It's
Right.
like, I'm trying to be less reliant entirely on row crop commodities and have, like, if this is a bad year over here, it's like, well, I still made my income over here, like, and vice versa. And so that's where, man, just, we just got to be creative. The days, like we said, the days of I'm going to only grow corn and soybeans, that's going to be the only thing I do. Like, I feel like those days, unless you're going to work 12,000 acres, those days are gone.
Yeah.
So I'll tell you, it's kind of it's about 10 years ago, and I first got back in the ag industry, and I was selling crop insurance. I pulled up on this man's farm that I knew. He was around my age. They were working on some equipment, and his son was there. His son was probably a little bit younger than you, just out of college. I think he was 23, 24. And the granddad was there. Granddad's walking around in old pair of overalls. He had kind of taken a back seat and let the son, who was my age, run it. And I came there to talk to son. They were in the middle of doing something, so I kind of stood around and talked to the granddad one day. And we were looking out, and they had some cows, kind of similar to the setup y'all have here. They got a shop and had the cattle around the shop.
Yeah.
And we were talking about it. I said, how many head of cattle you got in here? We talked about it for a minute. And he said, I believe, if it was up to my son and my grandson, he said, it wouldn't be a cow on this place. And I said, yeah, a lot of them, feel the same way. He said, they break all this pasture up, plant corn. He said, but let me tell you, son, I've seen some times where it got pretty tight around here, and, I could go to town and sell a cow or, sell this or that and get enough money to buy groceries through the winter.
Yeah.
And
yeah.
you think, damn, it was that tough. But I mean, it was a different time.
Yeah.
They, whatever. But yeah, he said, and it was a great way to live. Like you said, they supplemented their income, and when times got bad, that was money in the bank out there.
Yep. Yeah.
And that calf may not have been ready at the time to sell at that time, but that's what they did.
Yeah.
And we got to go back to a little bit of that. We got to do a little bit of diversification. It's hard. It's not, when it's not, Bobby Lee can tell you, you're not going to pull in that, when row crop, you pull in the shed with that combine and you turn the key off after you've cut the last row, you're done.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
for the most part, with field work, anyway.
Yeah.
It's not that way with cattle.
Yeah.
And that's why we've moved away from some of it. And it's also a lot of risk and some stuff like that involved in it. But we moved away from that because we're like, I don't want to work that hard.
Yeah.
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 I mean, and I don't either,
Yeah.
but I also don't like starving either.
Yeah.
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 Well, yeah, I don't know at what point, you maybe start to see some ground come back to cattle. I don't know.
I don't either.
I don't know that we're like right on the verge of that.
I don't think so either.
But-
I think the capital investment in it right now is just so big because we've let all of our infrastructure go down in fences and
Yeah.
barns.
Oh,
and,
yeah, you're right.
You know,
You're right. And we're all going to be eating fake meat and bugs
Yeah.
in the future
Yeah.
anyway.
Yeah. Hey, you want to cue up our man?
Our man.
We gonna put you on the spot again. I actually meant to text you.
You know what do we do when he's no longer the man? I mean, I don't think he's been the man maybe ever, but
I feel like we got to keep using it, but I don't know. What do the listeners want to know?
I mean, once you're president, you're always referred to as president.
That's right. That's right.
or we can be the former president.
Former president.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's what they.
Yeah. And
Lord.
listeners, let us know. Comment below or shoot us a message. Do we need to modify our Made in America intro when Weekend at Bernie's is out of here?
When he officially hands over the keys to Kamala in January.
Yeah. Gosh.
me start off with 2 words. Made in America.
All right, yeah, I was gonna text you earlier, and I was like, I need to give him a heads up, but I'm like, he listens to the show, whatever. But I was gonna text you and say, hey, we're gonna ask you, what's a brand, a product? Can you think of one offhand, made in USA, that you would put your stamp of approval on? Like I said, it don't even have to be a product necessarily, a brand, whatever.
I'm gonna tell you, it's kind of both, and it's been in the news. We talked about it earlier. It's the Kinsey brand.
Yeah.
And I don't know if you've read something about the history of the Kinsey brand and whatever. It was a guy, and he developed. He came in and he broke off from the big, kind of the big guys, and said, I'm gonna, do this. And I think he started with actually building a 4-wheel drive tractor. It evolved into a Kinsey planter, which is, for the people that use them, love them. And they're talking about how great a planter. He got some other short line, and I will say this: as much bad press as Deere got, the Kinsey layoff was kind of a blip in the market, because I think that's how much respected this guy is in the ag market.
Yeah.
Because he came in and his factories, I think it's in Iowa, but it's in a small town, I mean, I get the feeling, and I'm sure it's not the guy, whatever, that founded Kinsey is still not the guy, I'm sure. But I just get like the feeling that when he laid off his 175 people or whatever it was at Kinsey, it killed his soul.
Yeah.
It would, and with Deere, it's just a number. It's just like, we cut another 175, but these people were salaried people.
Yeah.
Well, what daggum difference does that make? They all work for you.
Yeah, and it's probably no telling how many dang employees they got.
Right. I mean, it was just another number for them, but it's, and it brought it to my attention. This guy, whoever, I don't know, I can't remember the guy's name, but he founded the Kinsey Corporation. It's an American-made product. He builds everything in Iowa, in-house, and it's if you ever in that area, they have a museum, and they've got one of the Kinsey. Boy, I have not been there. I've seen it on YouTube and something. But he's got like a big Kinsey planter. You know how they fold? They were like with the first pivot planter type thing, and it's folding on a big, huge billboard sign.
All right, that's what I think I've seen that. And I'll tell you, I looked pretty seriously at Kinsey's. When I traded to this planter I have now a few years ago, and it's getting a lot of wear on it, and I've kicked around the idea. Honestly, I've kicked around that because some of the Kinseys, they have a lot of technology, but they also still have some that are almost like chain drive.
Yeah, absolutely. They're simple.
Yep, and it's like, because I've had my case is all GPS and cable drive, and you'll have a cable break, and then you don't know, like it'll throw something off in the monitor, and you can't figure out which cable it is, and like it won't plant anymore. And them Kinseys and the chain drives, they're like the old style cases where, dude, as long as that chain is turning that shaft, that joker's going to plant.
And I think they have a lot more technology on them now. Some road cutoffs and some of this kind of stuff, but I don't think it's near as complicated.
Yeah.
And if the ones that I know that are running them, they said, man, if it's kind of like the old combines when that stuff tore up. They just hit the button and kept on going.
Yeah.
Now you can't hit the button and keep on going.
Yeah.
The Kinseys, I think you can hit the button and keep on going.
I wonder, is there opening discs? How are they? Do you know, are they offset or are they side by side?
I think they're side by side, as I want to say. But I'm not 100%.
That's the one weapon Case has, man. I know. That's why we like the red planters.
I love the red planters. And it's, and I will say, but I will say, I know some people that run Kinsey, and they say they're tough.
Yeah. Well, Matt and Kelly, I think they run Kinsey planters.
Yeah, yeah, I'm pretty sure they do.
And they're no-tilling sons of guns, man. I mean, they no-till into some green shit.
Yeah, I follow them on some of the social media stuff, and it's crazy.
Yeah.
Has Matt your age? Is he around your age?
They went to college together.
Matt's about 3 years older than me.
I knew he went to Martin, and he was an AGR at Martin.
We were there at the same. We only overlapped by like a year.
They were hammered together like a couple of times.
Yeah. Back in the day.
Won't deny it.
But yeah, no, Kinsey is a brand that has piqued my interest.
And I think it's much more economical than some of the red and green stuff.
Yeah, which are our H&R dealer is a Kinsey dealer.
It is.
So
and they're good people over there at H&R. You go visit them every now and then. That's we run red kind of gets a bad rap in this area, and with some things, and I tell people all the time, I worked at a red dealership for a while.
Yeah.
And it's like a Ford and a Chevrolet now. Now, it used to be some big difference, but it's kind of, some people you love a Chevrolet. I like a Ford.
Yeah.
Because I'm more comfortable in a Ford because I know what all the buttons and switches and stuff do.
Yep.
I'm not as comfortable. And if you were to get in my truck, it's like, how do I move this seat? Or do whatever because you're not as, it's kind of the same thing. They're very comparable products now. But it comes back to the dealership, and it's some really good guys over there. I know several of them. The manager and their parts manager and stuff, and they're great guys. They're working hard to build a name in this area.
Yeah. Well, you're seeing around here. We've been running red planters since I've always run a red planter. Mm-hmm. Dad used to run some like 7,200 John Deere planters. Uh-huh. They were 38-inch rows on, but as far as soybeans, we've always ran red planters, the drills, then moved into the swivel planters, and they're great. They're great planters, and you're seeing a lot of guys around here now that have historically always ran green planters running red planters.
Oh yeah.
But the Kinseys do really pique my interest, and I like the fact that they're a small. I mean, they're still a big name, but they're a smaller company. Yeah. And I like to root for the underdog.
Well, I think one of the things that they finally broke through is they had the central fill tank, and that's been a big deal, in the ag market.
I love that.
Forever they were the single hopper deals,
I like the bulk tanks, man.
And they do have the bulk tanks and stuff now. But that's one of the things, and it just, when you asked me that, that popped in my head. We talked about, and because it just, when I saw Kinsey doing it, you're like, hey, we're in trouble.
Yeah.
It's not just a corporate move. These people are reacting to where we are and what we're doing, and because they don't have a whole line of, they're not selling lawnmowers.
Yeah. So, anything you want to add?
No, y'all, remind y'all on the T-shirts. Still got a few T-shirts, not a lot, especially some sizes, but I guess we don't have a link on the website.
No, we're kind of in the works of revamping the whole website.
So if you want to talk dirt to me T-shirt, go to hurricanecreek.farm, and they're on there on my website. But you can also go to talkdirtpodcast.com and check things out there, submit a question and whatnot.
Yep.
And as soon as you get done with that, you go to agzaga.com, or you can go to agzaga first. But either way,
get you some new underwear.
I got a question for you, Bobby Lee. What about that T-shirt?
I'm your Huckleberry.
Uh-huh.
Yeah.
You know what that means?
Well, it wasn't the line supposed to be?
No, it wasn't.
Oh, that was just an urban legend?
Yes,
okay.
The Hucklebear, talking about on the side of the coffin.
Yeah.
No, because that's what I've got swept into that. I was like, man.
Well, I wondered.
But the Huckleberries is kind of the same thing. It's they're talking about the pallbearer.
Yeah.
It is. That's what he was talking about. I'll be your pallbearer.
Yeah.
Because he meant I'm finna kill you.
Yeah, just there was like an urban legend that Val Kilmer said the wrong line. Like it was supposed to be, "I'm your Hucklebearer."
Yeah.
And,
no, it's Barry. It's Huckleberry. That's right.
And they just let him roll with it.
Yeah. And so I looked up the damn script because I was like, "This is bugging the crap out of me." Because I was like, "Man, there's no way they'd have let him miss
that.
Yeah, and so no, in the script it says, "I'm your Huckleberry."
But it does mean I'll be your pallbearer.
Well, you know
what a cool line.
And I didn't even mean to wear this shirt for this reason, but when we were in Glacier National Park last week in kind of West Glacier and kind of that part of Montana,
being the earth-friendly people they were,
yes,
hiking and granola,
that's right,
smoking a doobie while you were hiking.
We were picking huckleberries on our hikes and eating them for snacks.
Oh, okay.
They were being very granola.
Y'all were being very granola.
But huckleberries grow there.
Yeah,
and they can't be cultivated.
Oh, really?
Like they only grow like there. Like
wow.
One of the guides on, I think it was when we were rafting, said it had to do with like a fungus that's in the soil that's required.
So they can't like move them?
And like, I think they can plant them. Like the house we stayed at, there was some like right outside the house. And I was like, and this is a fairly new house, so I'm pretty sure they probably planted those there.
What do they taste like?
They're kind of similar. Like they look like a blueberry. You know, if you were going to compare them to something that's very close. I don't know. They're different than a blueberry, but it's close. Like
Gotcha.
And everything out there, you can get ice cream shop. They got huckleberry ice cream. They got huckleberry jelly and jam. I ate some.
Did you get that shirt there?
No, this is from the old.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
The Doc Holidays.
We sing karaoke there.
The restaurant that no longer exists. And
I
then
think the
after,
IRS had something to do with that. But all right.
Yeah. Yeah,
and then it
I
became
think so.
White Earps, but anyway, but yeah, Huckleberry. I ate some bison.
Then it was Johnny Ringo's.
I don't think but
Just started running down the list.
yeah, right.
Wild Bills.
I had some bison
Buffalo Bills
meatballs
never took off
with,
on that one,
with
though.
a huckleberry glaze on them. Like everybody thinks got huckleberry.
Meatballs with it?
Meatballs like a huckleberry glaze.
Oh, okay.
And, you know, it was,
Fine dining in that one restaurant in town.
yeah. That's the problem when you only got one restaurant in town. Yeah, they were really dried out, and it wasn't that great. But we had hiked like 11 miles that day, and I ate them some bitches so fast. But we're drinking the house we're staying in. They had some coffee there waiting on us. I was like, oh great, because I'm always worried like when I get somewhere they got a coffee maker, but
Don't
we
tell
used-
me it's some Huckleberry coffee.
it's huckleberry like flavored coffee.
Wow. That sounds
And like
interesting.
I'm not like I like black coffee. And like I don't put creamer or anything, and I don't even want the flavored stuff. Well, my wife loved it.
So
And
you,
so we brought back the little bit that we didn't use out there, and so that's what we're currently drinking at home. And every day I'm like, I just want to get rid of this shit.
so it was still, so nobody like had flavored it. It's just the beans are roasted with like Huckleberry.
Yeah, it's like a, you know, sometimes the beans
So
are
it's
like
very
vanilla
aromatic
flavored.
whenever you're roasting it.
It's slightly fruity. Like you can smell it and tell.
Yeah,
And it's
yeah.
not awful, but like when I finally get done with it here in another week or so, or maybe less than that, I don't know.
You won't be
And
sad.
I'm drinking just a straight up black cup of coffee with no flavor to it. Just
Yeah.
black coffee. It's gonna be like
Heaven, yeah.
But you need things like this to remind you how much you love. It's
That's
like,
true.
It's why I eat chicken for supper some nights.
It's true.
Because then when I eat beef, I'm just like, oh my dear Lord.
This is so much better.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But
Well, yeah. Well, man,
Yep.
thank you for joining
Thank
us.
y'all for having me.
We'll definitely have you. You'll be a three-peat. We'll have you
Yeah,
back
come
on.
yeah. Yeah,
So-
yeah, you'll be our first ever three-peat, I'm sure.
I'm
Yep.
sure.
Yep.
You know, I live pretty close, so it's easy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I'm at the age where I don't have children at home that I have to scuffle around and try to get to here. There.
Yeah.
Well, that's why we have to do it so
I
late.
know.
We got to get them in the
Like I say,
bed.
tonight, my kids were in the swimming pool when I left.
Yeah.
Actually, I had to get on to my son. He wouldn't. My wife was running some water in the pool, and he kept pulling the hose up, like spraying it everywhere. We told him to stop like 3 times. Like, all right, dude, you're out.
Yep. Yep. Get out of the pool. Yeah.
But yeah, no,
Poor
it's-
Willis.
that's why I wasn't here till 8:35.
8:45.
8:35. I
That's
was.
why he was fighting with Willis,
Yep.
Yeah.
my man Willis.
Yep.
He was crying when I left because I had to get in his ass.
Oh man. Well, guys, y'all know what to do. Leave us a rating and a review. Dude, Spotify's kicking ass. I looked on there today. Y'all are dominating. Apple, you can still try to catch up, but the gap is widening pretty bad. But we
It's all us
appreciate.
Android users.
That's right, man. Are you a fellow
Yeah,
Android?
I'm an Android
I did
user.
see the check mark when
Yeah.
I had texted you. Oh man, I knew you were smart.
I use Spotify.
Well,
It's not. I will admit that's not my primary platform. I use it for mainly the stuff that you can't get on Apple Podcasts.
yes. Yep. Well, guys, leave us a rating and a review. Comment below. Let us know what you think. And, I'd love to hear some messages on what are your kind of diversity plans? What are your thoughts for, I want to try this outside the box or that outside the box. So go to, talkdirtpodcast.com, contacts page, submit your questions, your emails there.
And I will say this: if any producers, it doesn't matter if you're in the state of Tennessee or in my area or not, have any questions about what we can do about crop insurance programs or any risk management programs out there, reach out to Logan. He can tell you how to get a hold of me.
Yep.
And I would be more than happy to to visit with you.
Yeah, you talked to a guy, I think,
I
from
have
the last
talked to
time.
someone last time that was here, and it's even if I'm not in your area, I can we have some programs that are available, and maybe I can put you in contact with somebody that can help you with that, because there are some risk management strategies that are out there that are subsidized by our government that that can help you.
He says, acquire a taste for bourbon if you don't already have it.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
All right, guys. We'll catch you next week.